you're from the European Investment Bank. What, to your mind, what does the outcome of the US elections mean for the economy in Europe?
For me, it just simply reiterates the need for strategic autonomy. Europe has to become strategically much more autonomous as we are today. And that concerns innovation, but also concerns environment and energy. So the independence is critical. When we also look at supply chains, strategic autonomy means Europe has to be much more front-loaded when it comes to interference and onboarding, friendshoring, and close-boarding the supply chains. It's various factors, not only the critical raw materials, but also the semiconductors. So supply chain is critical. For me, the slogan is strategic autonomy, and I guess even the Draghi report talks very clearly about this. And the American elections have only raised the bar to become quicker, speedier in our autonomy here in Europe. The Dachfonds or Fund of Fund in Austria is, as far as I'm concerned, an important but only an element to a wider, clear strategy towards a capital markets union in Europe, or call it a saving and investments union. So what is important is that the European savings get channeled into productive investments in Europe. That is the big challenge. So we are not short of savings in Europe, in the contrary. But how can we get these savings into productive investments? And here, various instruments are critical, and the Dachfonds is one of those. Why is it one of those? Because you will have like-minded investors, public and private, who put their money into the same objective, with state-of-the-art documentation, rules and regulation very clear. These vehicles can or must not be necessarily registered, but they can be registered. So they have all the legal and regulatory framework which investors, private investors, need in order to put their money into this. Secondly, it gives you diversification. So you're not exposed to one single company or to one fund manager. No, already a fund of the size of about 200 to 300 million is going to invest to a minimum of 10 funds or potentially more. So this gives you diversification, risk diversification. Thirdly, and that is important for policymakers, a fund can have a very clear, and must have a very clear investment strategy. And that can be aligned and will be aligned to Austrian priorities. And this is where the policymakers, the politicians, have their say in formulating the investment strategy, which then the fund has to implement when they commit as limited partner to the various funds. So it is a very strong vehicle, but market-oriented, to put policy into market action. And that is, for me, the most powerful thing. Last not least, often I got criticized because also in this conference I was called the Pope of Fund of Funds in Europe. I was often criticized, or I was asked, will I see my money back? And if I look at the EIF's track record in the management of Fund of Funds, I can't recall a single one where the nominal capital was not repaid over time, but the majority, the vast majority, 95% of our fund of funds have even juicy returns in the region between 5 to 12%. And that is enormous, in particular as we are coming through a period of zero interest. So I guess there is not a weak argument or a counter-argument which politicians, the industry, or whoever you might face can bring up against a fund of fund.